Hey, Carmine here with a small bite. So somebody recently asked me about the difference, or is there a difference between men and women working in a professional kitchen? And unfortunately, I had to say, yeah, there is. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Young girl, high school student thinking about getting into the restaurant business, had a lot of questions for me, and I was happy to spend some time with her. Young girl named Paige wants to know about getting into the restaurant business. Trying to decide, one, does she want in because she loves to cook, she loves to eat? Secondly, does she specialize more into pastries versus line cooks? And what I explained to her is, not too many years ago, maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, it was not uncommon. It was not uncommon for the chefs in the kitchen to yell and scream and possibly even smack you around. Now, let's say 20 years ago, okay? Now, there's a difference still between European-style kitchens and American kitchens, and at one point, a lot of the American kitchens were starting to adhere to the same kind of hierarchy. There was this brigade system, like a military system. So you had the general, and then you had lieutenants, and then you had soldiers, and then you had the people that were beneath them, and the interns, if you will. And it was a given, though, that it was a man's world. And you know, you can say what you want about moms being cooks and everything else. There was this stigma that women just didn't get it. They didn't understand. They weren't as professional. I would beg to differ, and I'd say that most of the women chefs that I've met and worked with have a very creative side to them, sometimes more so than the guys, and they're every bit as capable. But getting back to this conversation I had with Paige, she started asking a little bit about it, and I said, well, a great indication of how it used to be, and there's still some lingering residual effect. One of my favorite shows on TV is a show called Hell's Kitchen. Now, I absolutely love Hell's Kitchen and Gordon Ramsay. Now, granted, it's TV. They ramp it up a little bit. The producer whispers in his ear, chef's ear, and says, you know, so-and-so chopped up the filet mignon and they threw half of it away. And, you know, he's not doing this specifically for the cooking. There's a TV element part to it, which they want to just kind of make everything seem that much more edgy and that much more antagonistic. I get that. But the general feeling when you watch the show is old school kitchen style, very European in a sense, where the chef, it was his domain. And when he spoke to you, it was yes, chef. There was no other way to answer, just like yes, sir in the military. It was yes, chef, and he was the god. He made it all happen. And I worked in kitchens where chefs would literally throw a knife at you, or at the very least, they'd have no qualms about coming up and smacking you in the back of the head and calling you stupid and all those other things. And at that point, you were happy to learn the job. I also remember working with some chefs, male chefs, that would be happy to teach you, but when it came down to that last ingredient in a dish, they'd go get something, go get a spoon for me. When you walked away, they'd put it in and never quite give you all the secrets, because it was their theory was they were fighting for their jobs and they didn't want you to come up and take their job. But now, how does that translate to today's kitchens? What I find is there still is a little bit of a pushback with women in the kitchen. And I think, unfortunately, like I explained to Paige, women in today's kitchen, except for major markets necessarily, and the profile being raised of some celebrity chefs, celebrity female chefs, I think what happens is the women have to be better than the men to start. But what I mean by that is there has to be a focus. They have to be dedicated, and unfortunately, they need to prove themselves to some stupid guys that they work with in the kitchens. But I think if you've got the talent, you've got the desire, and let me take a step back on that talent word, because really what you want to do is, and I probably get a lot of flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. When we talk about cooking and chefs and line cooks and all the terms we want to use, talent is a part of it. But really, you become a phenomenal tradesperson. You can learn to be a plumber, you can learn to be an electrician, you can learn to be a cook. Now, whether or not you can be a good one or a great one comes down to talent, dedication, perseverance, interest, how much you constantly reinvent and teach yourself. But evidently, you know, it's a trade, and a lot of people can learn it. The good from the bad, from the mediocre is where you start to pull in the talent. There's not many people I think are exceptionally talented. There's a lot of hard-working, good people. But the women today need to focus. They need to persevere. They need to be the hardest-working person in that kitchen, unfortunately, till they get everybody's respect, and then they can go about their business and become the great and talented chefs that they ultimately can be. So that's why I said to Paige, hate to say it, but it's still pretty much the way the restaurant industry is, at least in all the kitchens I've worked with in the past 15 or 20 years. Here's another small bite. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.